Welcome in to Uncaged Sports Talk, episode 41. Sorry for that this episode's been delayed. Had some stuff come up this week. Was busy doing some stuff with my phone. Busy doing just taking care of some stuff. Had a dentist appointment on Friday. I was planning on doing this episode Friday, as you all know, but was not able to get to it. But we're finally getting to this episode, and it lets us go over two topics before we get to our new segment and our NBA player ranking. Currently doing the NBA player ranking since I did a QB ranking last week. But first, I want to touch on the Fury Usyk fight from yesterday afternoon, or yesterday around like 6:30. But that fight was a really good fight, really good heavyweight fight. I think the judges got it right for the most part. I had this fight scored 115 to 112. I think what the difference was in the fight, Usyk was just more active. He was just more active in the fight. He was more pressing forward on his front toes compared to in previous Fury fights. The opponents are on their back or on their heels. And in a boxing fight, you don't want to be on your heels. I think that was the main difference. And in old past Fury fights that I've watched, you see Fury just using his body weight on his opponent to just wear his opponents down, wear his opponents out, and eventually it catches up to his opponents. But he wasn't doing that as much in this fight. I saw him do it a few times here and there, but not as much as he usually does, which was odd to me. But it was an overall good fight between two heavyweights for the first ever time in 20 plus years since Lennox Lewis. The two titles, or there's an undisputed heavyweight champion in boxing. The other topic I wanted to bring up was there was some news that came out today that MIchkov likely is going to be on his way to Philadelphia, as he might be able to get out of his KHL contract this summer and be heading to Philadelphia this summer. Be a Flyer this year and grow with this Flyers team. Flyers might finally have their stud ready to go. I wanted to touch on those two topics. I think the MIchkov thing is very exciting. This episode is going to be a little shorter, but without further ado, I'm going to get into my NBA player rankings for the year. I'm using the same site I did last week for the QB rankings. Here's my NBA player rankings as of today. We start off with SGA versus Jaylen Brown. I'm taking SGA in that battle. You got Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving. I'm taking Kyrie. Paul George, Zion. Give me Paul George. Brandon Ingram, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's banged up. Brandon Ingram fell off a little this year. Give me Kawhi Leonard. Anthony Davis, Darius Garland. Give me Anthony Davis. Donovan Mitchell, Spitta. Or Rudy Gobert. Give me Donovan Mitchell. Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan. I would take Zach LaVine. Jason Tatum, I think everyone's taking him over Jimmy Butler. Luka over Cat for sure. Damian Lillard over James Harden. Both are kind of older, on the older side, washed up side. Embiid over Chris Paul. Trae Young and Devin Booker. This one's not even close. It's Devin Booker. This one's not even close as well. It's Joker. Giannis or Kevin Durant. I would go Giannis now. LeBron or Steph Curry. I would go LeBron. Makes a bigger impact than Steph Curry nowadays. Jaylen Brown, Bradley Beal. I'd go Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving. I would still go Kyrie, but I think it's getting closer. Jaylen Brown or Shea. Shea was in the MVP voting this year. I'd go Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Brandon Ingram or Zion. Zion's the leader of that team. He's the star of that team. Zion or Kawhi. I would still go Kawhi, but it's getting closer. Kawhi or Paul George. That's Kawhi. Rudy Gobert or Darius Garland. I would actually go Darius Garland here. Darius Garland or Spitta. I'd go Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell or Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis could be really good, but he is banged up like often, too often. Give me Donovan Mitchell between the two. Jimmy Butler is not the greatest regular season player, but he does know how to turn it on in the playoffs. I would take him over DeRozan. I would take Butler over Zach LaVine. I would actually take Cat now over James Harden. Granted, that might be a little biased, but I think a lot of people right now would take Cat over James Harden. And I'm not the biggest basketball watcher. I just wanted to do my NBA player. Like, I'm not the biggest basketball fan. Like, I'm a fan of basketball, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's not my number one sport. That's a good way to word it. Not my number one sport. Not the sport I'm most invested in. Karl Anthony Towns, Damian Lillard. I would go Karl Anthony Towns between the two. Trae Young or Chris Paul. I would go between the two. I'd go Trae Young. Chris Paul's falling off. Embiid over Trae Young, not even close. Embiid over Devin Booker, that's not even close. Kevin Durant over John Morant. I would go Joker over Kevin Durant. It is a changing of the guard. I know I said that a few weeks ago, but it has truly been a changing of the guard in these playoffs. I would go Joker over Giannis, a 3-time MVP. Steph Curry, I would still take over Bradley Beal. Still take Steph Curry over Jaylen Brown. I'd still take Curry over Kyrie. I would go Shea. Shea was runner-up in MVP voting this year. Curry's starting to fall off. Shea's just entering his prime. I would take Shea over Curry right now. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, LeBron. I would still take LeBron just because it's LeBron. I would give him the benefit of the doubt here, but it is close. Rudy Gobert or BI. I'd go Rudy Gobert. Great defensive player. Zion or Rudy Gobert. I'd go Zion. Zion or Darius Garland. I would go Zion here between the two. I'd go Anthony Davis over Zion. Anthony Davis over Paul George. Anthony Davis over Kawhi. Both players often injured. I would go James Harden over DeRozan. James Harden or Zach LaVine. I personally would go Zach LaVine here between the two. I think Zach LaVine's he is more fresh, more athletic than Harden nowadays. Zach LaVine or Damian Lillard. I'd go Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard or Jimmy Butler. I'd go Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has gotten it done in the playoffs before. They're around the same age. They're both on the decline, but I'd go Jimmy Butler over Karl Anthony Towns. Easily Luka Doncic over Jimmy Butler. I'd go Luka Doncic over Jason Tatum. I think anyone would. John Morant over Chris Paul. John Morant over Trae Young. John Morant over Devin Booker. Easily Embiid over John Morant. I would go Embiid right here over Kevin Durant. Embiid just needs to get through in the playoffs. He showed some promise at the end of this in the last game in the playoff this year. But he just needs to get out of the second round. He needs to go on a deep playoff run for people to truly believe in him. Embiid or Giannis? I'd go Giannis here. Bradley Beal or Brandon Ingram? I would go Bradley Beal here, but that one could go either way. I'd go Beal over Rudy Gobert. I'd go Garland over Bradley Beal. JB over Garland. I'd go JB over Zion. I'd go JB over Paul George. Kawhi over JB. I would go Kyrie over Kawhi. Anthony Davis over Kyrie. Curry over Anthony Davis. Curry over Donovan Mitchell. I'd go DeRozan over Chris Paul. This one's an interesting... No, wait, this one's not an interesting one. What am I saying? I personally would go DeRozan here. Trae Young, besides that one run he had a few years ago against the Sixers, he hasn't done much since. I would go DeRozan here. I'd take Devin Booker in a heartbeat over DeRozan. Devin Booker over James Harden. Devin Booker again. Devin Booker over Karl Anthony Towns all day long. This one's interesting, but Jimmy Butler does not play well in the regular season. He plays well, but not at his playoff level. I would go Devin Booker between the two. Devin Booker, Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum would be my pick here. Jason Tatum, I would take over Ja as well. Team the two here, I think this is an interesting one, but Kevin Durant is on the older side. I would take Jason Tatum over Kevin Durant. Jason Tatum or Joel Embiid. I would go Joel Embiid over Jason Tatum. Joel Embiid or Luka Doncic. I would go Luka. Luka's actually having a good playoff run. Luka's just one of the best players of this generation. He might be the face of the league once LeBron leaves. We'll see, but Luka or Giannis, I would actually go Luka now. Luka or Jokic or Joker, Nikola Jokic. Between the two, I would go Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP. That's really hard to beat. So give me Jokic over Luka Doncic. Give me Brandon Ingram over Chris Paul. Give me Brandon Ingram over Trae Young. Give me Brandon Ingram over DeMar DeRozan. Give me James Harden over B.I. James Harden over Rudy Gobert. James Harden over Bradley Beal. Darius Garland over Harden. Darius Garland over Levine. Darius Garland over Dame. Cat over Garland. Zion over Cat. Jimmy Butler over Zion. Jimmy Butler. Give me Jaylen Brown over Jimmy Butler now. Like, it's really a changing of the guard in the NBA currently. Devin Booker over Jaylen Brown. I would actually go Devin Booker over Kawhi because Kawhi's just too hurt for me. Like, he gets hurt way too often for me. So I'd go Devin Booker here. Devin Booker or Kyrie. Kyrie has fallen off the map a little. Like, he's still a really good player, but he's not what he used to be. So I would take Devin Booker over Kyrie. I would go Devin Booker over Anthony Davis, but if Anthony Davis is healthy, I don't even think this is close. But Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell, I would go Devin Booker here between the two. Devin Booker or Steph Curry. I'd give the benefit of the doubt to Steph Curry, but this one's close. John Morant or Steph Curry, I'd go Steph Curry. Steph Curry or Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant or Shea, I'd actually go Shea here. Shea or Jason Tatum, I would go SGA here. SGA or Embiid, I'd go Embiid. That could be a little biased, but I'd still trust Embiid more. I wouldn't trust him more when it matters, but I'd prefer to have Embiid on my team. Embiid could go down as an all-time player if he eventually gets a ring. But Embiid or LeBron, this is Embiid all day long. And then there is your NBA player rankings quiz list. I'm going to introduce a new segment after I run through this and review it. Coming in at number 30 is Chris Paul, 29 Trae Young, 28 DeMar DeRozan, 27 Brandon Ingram, 26 Rudy Gobert, 25 Bradley Beal. Coming in at 24 is James Washed Up Harden, 23 Zach LaVine, 22 Damian Lillard, 21 Darius Garland. Coming in at 20 is Cat. Coming in at 19 is Zion Williamson. Coming in at 18 is PG, Paul George. Coming in at 17 is Jimmy Butler, Himmy Butler. If he comes back to the Sixers, it'll be his nickname again. Coming in at 16, Jaylen Brown. 15 is Kawhi Leonard. 14 is Kyrie Irving. 13 is Anthony Davis. 12 is Donovan Mitchell. 11 is Devin Booker. And for your top 10, 10 is Ja Morant. 9 Steph Curry. 8 Kevin Durant. 7 Jason Tatum. 8 Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. 5 LeBron King James. 4 Joel the Process Embiid, as Matt Cord would say it. At 3 is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 2 is Luka Doncic. And number 1, as much as I hate to say it, the Joker, Nikola Jokic. That is my NBA player rankings list currently. I'm going to send it to some friends. If you can put it in the comments, if you follow basketball, put in the comments what you think's good about it, what you think isn't good about it, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Gonna send it to some friends, see their thoughts on the list as well. But I think it's a solid list for the most part. There's some people, I think there's some parts some people are gonna disagree with, but I think it's a solid list for the most part. One thing I've taken away from these playoffs is it's certainly a changing of the guard. And I will say, if the Celtics don't win the finals this year, it is an embarrassment to the Boston Celtics organization. You have a finals right in your hand. You have the easiest championship you guys have had in years. Your best shot at a finals is this year. Without a doubt. Not the easiest championship in years, but your best shot at a finals is this year. At a finals championship is this year. I want to introduce a new segment today on this episode. So, as you all know, the NFL schedule came out this past week. That's why I delayed it originally, because I wanted to wait till the site uploaded the schedule and all. But I have decided I am introducing a new segment until the NFL season starts. That every week I'm going to go through 1 week of the NFL schedule and do my predictions throughout the offseason. So this week is going to be week 1. Next week will be week 2. The following week will be week 3. All the way up until the NFL season. And you'll get my official NFL predictions for the 2025 or 2025 NFL season. So starting with week 1, I'm going to go through all the games and give my predictions. You can see the standings on each side. And you can see the schedule in the middle. Starting off with the first game of the NFL season, the Ravens versus the Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens versus Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like usually in these first games of the year, the defending Super Bowl champions, I feel like usually lose this first game. And these first weeks are wacky. I said that all last year. But give me the Ravens in this matchup. And then in the Friday night, Brazil, Eagles, Packers. As much as I hate to do it, I would take the Packers here between the two. Then for your Sunday slate, your Sunday night game, I believe, is the Rams-Lions. Just double checking. Yeah, that is the Sunday night game. And then your Monday night game is the Jets-Niners, so I'll save those two for last. But for your AFC slate, Bengals-Patriots, this one, not a question. I would take the Bengals between the two teams. Dolphins or Jaguars? I would go the Dolphins here and then Miami Heat. Both teams are used to it, but I'd go the Dolphins here. They play good early in the season usually. Texans, Colts. Texans play. Indy's been a rough spot for the Texans in the last few years. I would take Indy over the Houston Texans here. The Texans come out struggling. Indy gets the upset win here in week 1. Raiders, Chargers. I personally would take Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert here. These two teams, I think, are going to be bottom feeders in the NFL this season, but I would take Jim Harbaugh here to start off 1-0 with Justin Herbert. Caleb Williams or the Titans. I think the Bears and Caleb Williams are going to come out firing this year. The Bears finished the season strong this year, made some good additions to the offense. I think they're going to start off with a huge electric win week 1. Steelers, Falcons. This is a game that could go either way. I'm going to give it to the Falcons just because they're the home team here. This is a game that I could really see going either way. Kirk Cousins added to the Falcons. They still don't have the best offensive weapons, but they got some weapons now. They finally got a competent QB. Bills over the Cardinals. That's not a no-doubter. Seahawks over the Broncos. I don't think there's any doubt for me for that one. Cowboys, Browns. This is interesting to me. I think this is a tough game for the Cowboys week 1. Tough draw. But I would take the Cowboys over the Browns here. Deshaun Watson just is not a good quarterback anymore. I would take the Saints over the Panthers. You got Daniel Jones versus J.J. McCarthy in New York. I think the Giants would pull this one off in the first game of the year. Malik Neighbors, I think, could have a huge day in this game. Malik Neighbors in the first game of the year gets it done. Washington versus the Bucks in the Tampa Heat. I would go the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Week 1 over the Commanders. Then on Sunday Night Football, to start the year, Rams-Lions. I think the Lions are going to struggle out of the gate this year. They finally have expectations, and I think those expectations might slow them down early. I think the Rams get the win here against the Detroit Lions to start off 1-0 and send the Lions to an 0-1 start. And then Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers makes his return on Monday Night Football. Is a repeat going to happen? Is a repeat of last year going to happen? Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles the first play of last year for the Jets. Please no, I hope it doesn't happen. I actually want to see Rodgers play this year. But Rodgers or the Niners, the teams that make the Super Bowl start out slow usually. The first week for those teams are usually risky. The Jets do have to travel across the country. But I would go Aaron Rodgers to get a win here against the Niners. Niners start slow. They struggle in the first game considering coming off a deep run in the playoffs last year. So I think they struggle in that first game. And week 1's always funky. So you can check out the standings on the side. I'll actually do it so you can just see the playoff standings as of now. As of now, after my week 1 predictions, Dolphins are your 1 seed, Colts are your 2 seed, Chargers are your 3 seed, Bengals are your 4, Ravens are the 5, Bills are the 6, and Jets are the 7. And then in the NFC, Rams are the 1, Packers are the 2, Giants are the 3, Saints are the 4, Bucks are the 5, Bears are the 6 seed, Seahawks are the 7 seed. That's how your playoffs shape out after week 1. That's how your playoff picture shapes out. This is a new segment I wanted to introduce that I'll do throughout the next few episodes, or up until the NFL season starts, and you'll be able to follow along with my predictions leading up to the NFL season. That'll do it for this episode of Uncaged Sports Talk. Thank you for tuning in. I know this episode was a little shorter, but remember to like, comment, and subscribe on all of our platforms. It is greatly appreciated. I wanted to introduce that segment. I wanted to do my NBA player rankings and talk about the Fury Usyk fight, MIchkov coming to Philly. I wanted to talk about those 2 things. That'll do it though for this episode. Next week we should have a bigger topic. I'll figure something out for next week. It's a little bit of a down period besides for the NBA playoffs. Maybe talk about some NBA players next week. Have a guest on. But that'll do it. Tune in next week for episode 42 of Uncaged Sports Talk.